1. I've handled strictly billing for more than a year, so I handle bills on this new place as well. Won't say where, but it's an electricity company based in the United States. Most people are surprisingly chill when calling. Some are very rude and wish I could die, but some are more subtle than others. This is the latter. It was a fairly chill and standard call initially, although she had her phone on speaker, so I was struggling to hear her. All that she needed was to know her balance and to pay the bill. It was like $70. As mentioned prior, I was struggling to hear because the phone was on speaker for some reason that I cannot comprehend. Eventually, I was able to pull up her account, and I saw that she was not overdue and the bill most likely got lost in the mail or something. She was kind and nice initially, asking how much her balance was, and I asked if she wanted to pay at all. She said yes. Bingo. That's the easiest way to help my payments metric. Thank you so much, lady. I appreciate...
Where are you located?
Oh, god damn it. I'm guessing the fact that I struggled initially clued her in on the fact that I am not from the almighty land of the free. Oh, well. Now you might think I am stupid for this. I am. But I always tell them where I'm from because I like to hear the reactions to my country of residence. Some people praise me for my good English, not a fan of that supposed compliment, but some people sound shaken up, so I told her, and her reaction was this. Oh, I'm from El Salvador.
El Salvador? You're not even American?
What followed was a couple of seconds of silence because she had been sweet and asked me to process her payment for her. So I was booting up the tool to do so, and to be honest, people going,
El Salvador,
is pretty common. What she said next, though, completely surprised me.
Is there an automated system I could pay through?
What? That just completely stunned me when it happened. She was completely okay with me looking at the account and processing the payment for her, but the moment I mentioned that I am not from the US of A, she suddenly wanted to process a payment through the automated system. Now, we do have one. It literally plays before any calls go through to an agent, and the caller has to request to speak to an agent, so I don't know how she didn't know we had one, but I could transfer her directly to an automated system to pay. However, I wanted to be a little mean. In order to transfer someone to the automated payment system, I needed to type down how much they're looking to pay and the account number, so I told her. I can definitely transfer you to an automated system if you'd rather pay through one. In order to do so, I would need to write down how much you're looking to pay. Can I get some clarification on the amount so that I can transfer the call? And she replied, in a very shaky and scared voice,
Why do you need that?
Poor lady. The fact that my native language wasn't English was so terrifying to her that she was unwilling to tell me what I told her previously. She ended up asking if there was another way, and I told her that the contact information for the IVR was available on the website, and she ended up hanging up. Just a completely bizarre case of someone switching up upon learning that I am not from the USA. 2. I used to work customer service for an insurance brokerage. Now I manage the CS team, and am in charge of client retention as well. So I don't receive calls anymore and only make a few. But this specific client, Jesus Christ, I always have to call her back after one of her little tantrums. So Karen had made it very clear from the first interaction I had with her almost 2 years ago that she's very unhappy with our service and our fees, which she's been aware of since she purchased the policy because she literally had to read and sign a broker fee agreement where even the specific amounts and reasons of the two fees we have are written, one for payment processing and one for certain types of endorsements. She always calls us to make her payments, she always complains about the fee, we always let her know we can call the carrier directly to set up autopay to avoid these fees. Her response every time,
Why the fuck would I do that if you're supposed to be my agent? I don't need to be doing that.
So whenever I got her call, I just let her vent and curse for a while, and then in my calmest customer service voice would say, Okay, Whenever you're ready, you can give me the card number. She always says that when she opened the policy with us, the one agent who sold it to her would explain all her renewals for her at the office, but that since he started working from home, it's just issues left and right. I've asked him about Karen since she said she'd call back to cancel her policy, to see if he wanted to give her a call or re-quote her with a different carrier, and see if he could find something cheaper. He just saw the name and said, "Nope, I know who that is. She's always like that, and I've re-quoted her several times. There's no other carriers for her." She's insulted virtually everyone in the agency, and has been the first person to earn the rude client pinned note in her file. She calls and insults whoever gets the call, and on the next one, complains and lies about how she was treated by the last person. We keep recordings of all our calls, so I know for a fact that she's lying. We also have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp reviews. Most of our new business is from referrals. She's really the only one who has a problem with us. The other day, Karen called, but the person who took her call was having technical difficulties. He couldn't hear her much, and wasn't sure if she could hear him. So he repeated a few times, "Ma'am, I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you. I'm gonna hang up the call now and call you back." And then he hung up. He got another call as soon as he did, and had to pick up. When he was done with that, Karen was already calling again. He picked up to her just insulting him, not letting him speak and not even saying what she needed help with. Then she hung up. This rep, James, called me immediately. He's working from home, to explain what had just happened and test his line at the same time. It was indeed having some issues, so he ended up having to reboot his router and computer. I called Karen back since she was clearly upset and, client retention, remember? When she picked up and I said my name, she immediately started cursing and saying no one had ever treated her so badly as James had. She said she already knew who I was since we've spoken several times before, and that she wanted corporate to do something about James. That he should be fired, and we should be more careful who we have working for us. I tried to explain the situation, and that he was indeed having issues with his line, but she said that was a lie, and he acted as if he was doing me a favor by taking my call when it's his fucking job. I told her I'd personally listen to the call recording, that we take complaints very seriously, and so on. She said she didn't give a fuck, that she knew this was being recorded, then proceeded to say as many curse words as she could think of, like a list. And she wanted corporate to hear that because she was angry. And this woman, oh my God, she had no shame, somehow told me she was customer service before and now quality control, so she could tell when someone was being unprofessional. Girl, I've gotten emails from her business email insulting me, with the signature set up as respectfully Karen, customer relations, and the company name. Like, how is that professional? To use your company email like that, and the signature with the actual body of the emails, is just fucking hilarious. These emails, I always get them after she makes a payment with us. She complains that we didn't send her the receipts, when I can literally see that they are attached to the email we sent her. I just resend them and say, you can find both the carrier receipt and the service fee receipt attached on the previous email, but I have also attached them here for your convenience. Anyways, I spoke with the owner about this. She listened to my calls and James's and said she'd send Karen an email with the recordings so she can hear herself being so rude. We haven't heard back from her in a while, but I'm sure the saga will continue. Now you might be thinking, fire her as a client. We have done that in the past, but in a more passive way, like receiving a non-renewal notice and only forwarding it to the customer without a call, because we know they won't do anything about it if we're not reminding them every few days. I'll definitely bring this idea up with the owner, though. For people thinking the company cares more about the customers than the employees, we have very good internal communication, and the higher-ups do listen to feedback, and are always looking for ways for everyone to be able to make additional income with optional tasks. I guess just no one has really thought about the option of cutting her off. Update. The owner did send Karen an email, basically telling her that we always keep records of all client interactions, not just the calls, but notes as well, and that she was shocked to see all the notes from several different agents describing such negative interactions with her. She told her she had listened to both calls from that last incident, and that she stood by the way we handled things. And of course, she attached the recordings there. It was absolute silence from Karen until sometime after that, when her next payment was due. She didn't call to make it. I'm in charge of assigning tasks to the customer service team, so I routinely go through lists of policies pending cancellation. Hers was pending for non-payment. I was honestly scared when I saw her name pop up because I assumed she probably went with another broker and was just letting the policy cancel, because she didn't want to speak with us again. But either way, I had to assign it to someone. I looked at the two representatives that work on the site next to me, and was like, "I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to give this client to one of you." The two had never spoken with her, so I gave them a little background, and one of them offered himself as a sacrifice. But he was determined. He dialed the number and put on his warmest voice. I just heard his side of the conversation, but it sounded so calm. He took the payment, and the call ended. The other guy and I just staring at him, waiting for the story. It was so shocking. He told us that Karen actually apologized. He said she sounded a bit embarrassed when she heard he was calling from our company, and that she said she hadn't called to pay because she wanted to try doing it online but couldn't figure it out. Then came the apology. Apparently, hearing yourself yell at random employees over a $6 fee that you agreed to and signed a disclosure for can make you rethink your stance. Maybe with her professional background, it made her remember when she used to be on the other end of the call. 3. I work at a car parts warehouse, processing internet orders, and am in charge of answering customer calls and emails, etc. I only disclose my first name to customers via phone and email since my name is unique. They know who to ask for. There are only 5 people in the department anyways. A debt collector, loan agency lady on a recorded line called our customer service number looking for someone. This is how the interaction went. "I'm Doris on a recorded line," and then she told me who she was looking for. "I'm sorry, we don't have anyone by that name that works here." She repeats the name. "No, I'm sorry, we don't have someone by that name. Are you sure you dialed the right number?" And she checked that it was the right company. "Yes, we are affiliates, but this is the customer service line for our online orders." And then once again she asked for that name. I repeat to clarify. Then remembered we have an HR rep with that name, but I didn't get a chance to say it. "Yes, give me the number for your HR office." I'm stuttering the entire rest of the conversation because she was being rude. "I'm sorry, but I don't have a direct number for them this moment." I would have had to search in emails to find a direct line for an HR rep within an email signature of theirs. "You don't have your HR phone number?" "Not at the moment." She cuts me off mid-sentence. "Well, what is your corporate number?" "I don't have the number handy." "What kind of employee are you? You don't have your corporate or HR phone number?" "I'm sorry, but I just don't have that information at the moment." Mind you, I do not have any sort of direct phone contact with any HR reps or corporates, since my job description does not require me having to have direct contact with either of them. She then begins talking to someone else there with her, saying I don't know any of the numbers she's asked for, and then my manager walks back into the office. "What is your name? Give me your information." "Wait, why is my information relevant if you're looking for someone else?" She begins getting extremely angry with me because I refuse to tell her my information, which is my right. "I want to speak to your manager." I then put my hand over the bottom of the phone to give my manager the gist of what's going on. I quoted this lady on the phone, called looking for such and such a name, and is upset that I don't know what other information to give her, and she's being kind of a bee. Just like that. Did not call her a bitch or a fucking bitch. The manager chuckled at what I said and went on with his business. She began yelling in my ear. "What? Excuse me? What did you just call me? Did you just call me a bitch? Wow, so unprofessional of you." She then started talking to the other person with her, saying I called her a bitch, so I just hung up. But she called right back. I told my manager that it was her, and he took the call. I gave her an employee verification number to call, which is an automated system, because he didn't know how to help her either, because we do not have a woman by the name she's looking for. She then asks him who it was she talked to, and he said my first name. Then told her my last name, which I don't even disclose to my daily customers. He disclosed my full legal name to this woman without my consent, and then gave her the general manager's direct line. The phone recording has been requested by the GM for investigation. I'm honestly scared to be terminated after this week because of this lady. Help. I'm trying to do my homework for when I get called into the principal's office. But this is a paragraph copied directly from our employee handbook regarding privacy of employee information. All inquiries concerning current or former employees from outside sources, such as lending institutions and reference requests by prospective employers, should be directed to the appropriate human resources representative. No employee other than the appropriate human resources representative and designated management-level employees has the authority to speak to a third party or provide information for or on behalf of the company regarding any current or former employee. Am I protected from repercussions because of this? 4. I work in a call center for a financial institution. This is by far my favorite story from this summer. We're all about giving an experience unlike other financial institutions, and are a little more lenient with things like waiving fees. But there are still rules, and while most people understand, there are always those kinds. Thank you for calling. This is me. How can I help you? I'd like to close my accounts. Sure, I can try to help with that. Okay, I have you pulled up. It looks like you're minus $14.27 in your accounts. Before we can close them, we do need you to bring your accounts to zero. I want you to waive the last 8 paper statement fees, that's $2 per statement, and close them. Unfortunately, the last paper statements you received were from over a year ago. We are only able to reverse fees from the last 6 months. That answer isn't acceptable. I want to close my account, and I'm not paying you to make that happen. It's been a year since I turned on e-statements, and I haven't used the account since then. Unfortunately, we can still not waive those fees. That money will need to be made up. You can either come into a branch, mail a check, or use online banking to transfer funds from a different financial institution. I'm not going to do that. You're going to go talk to your manager and have him waive the fee. Sure, I will go talk to her, however. There is a policy above her as well. I don't care. It's going to get done. 60 seconds of Cisco hold music later. Unfortunately, my manager is also unwilling to waive those fees. You will need to make them up, and then we will be happy to close your accounts. I want to talk with the CEO. What's his extension? I cannot give out that number. I'd be happy to transfer you to his secretary. No, I want to talk with him. I'm sorry, but I can't do that. This is exactly why I'm closing my accounts. Thank you for nothing. And they hang up. Feel free to take your minus 1427 wherever you'd like, my guy. Wish I wrote down his name. I bet 1427 the account is still open. 5. I'm a supervisor for a very small call center in the medical field. For context, our company does a third-party service for doctors' offices, and the doctors' offices are responsible for following up with us to obtain the information if they don't receive it. Also, while I have the title of supervisor for our department, That basically just means I do the payroll, schedules, take escalated calls, and handle conference calls that we're involved in. I still take calls myself on the regular. It's a pretty relaxed environment and we're a close group. It's just me and right now 4 reps. There's not a whole lot we can do when patients find their way to calling us. We just have to refer them to their doctor's office. Since we're a third party and not a provider's office, we can't discuss anything about their medical records or their care with them. In this case, a patient's mother called us, and we couldn't help her. She wanted the service we provide, but we provide it to the doctor's office and she needed to get it through them. She called 3 times and one rep got her twice. Then the third time she called, she got a different rep. We'll call her Azalea. Azalea is my most unflappable rep. She's a tough lady. She's had a rough life, and in the 2 years she's worked here, I've never seen her raise an eyebrow on a call, much less get worked up. She gets this call, and all of a sudden, she comes rushing to my office sobbing and hyperventilating. I have never seen her upset, so I know it's bad. She can barely get words out, but manages, "Patient's mom told me she hopes I have a sick kid one day." I'm immediately furious. Azalea has lost a child to illness. It was years ago, but obviously it's not something you get over. The rep who got the first 2 calls, Cookie, had heard Azalea on her call and heard her say, "Please, ma'am, you're being extremely disrespectful." But Cookie said it was more the tone of her voice that she noticed, and she took Azalea's headset from her and took over the call, which is when Azalea came running into my office. I told Cookie to send me the call immediately. I was ready to tear that woman a new asshole. I honestly don't know what I could have said when I got her, but I was ready to go full scorched earth on that bitch. Cookie told the lady that her supervisor would like to talk to her, and the lady said, "Good, I want to speak to her too." But when Cookie put her on hold, the lady hung up. This was 2 days ago, and I'm still furious. I wish I'd gotten to speak to her. I've played it out in my head a couple of dozen times, and I'm sorry her kid is sick, but that absolutely doesn't give anyone the right to say that to someone else. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Please Hold, episode 27. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do poke the like button, and share the video with friends and family members. If you would like early access to the channel's content, you can support me through my Patreon, which is linked in the description. You can also treat yourself to some Hellfreezer merchandise, never a bad time to do that. And you can make one-off donations during streams and videos like this one by pressing that little heart symbol with a $sign in the middle of it. And while you don't have to do this, I understand times are tough, but I do appreciate it, and it certainly helped keep my little toes warm these days. Okay, we have a little birthday shout-out to do today, and this goes to Pamela Pearl, and her birthday is on the 10th. And this comes from her loving husband, Josh. Well, Josh, today's the day to prove how loving a husband you are. You got to pamper that woman. You got to pamper her for the rest of the month. Because that's how we do things here at Casa de Hellfreezer. And before I get on to the question of the day, I'd like to sing Happy Birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Pamela. Happy birthday to you. Alrighty, and let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is... And this one comes courtesy of Newcomb on the Discord. Inspired by recent happenings at my kid's school, they say. What was the weirdest thing a substitute teacher did when you were a kid? Well, I can only think of one thing that jumps to mind. Actually, no, there's 2. One, I still think back on and I feel very sad because while I had nothing to do with it because I wasn't a little shit, I was a good kid in school. At least I think I was. Maybe the teachers will say otherwise. But I remember a teacher, grown woman. This class had this poor woman so stressed and worked up because they wouldn't behave. She actually started crying. And I've never forgotten that. And I hope that she was okay later that day. She got home, had a glass of wine, put on some TV and a movie, and just decompressed. And she didn't have to deal with that nonsense much after. No, maybe it's that she wasn't cut out to be a teacher, or maybe she had other things going on in her life, but no one deserves to be treated the way she was. The other thing was something that actually happened to me. They had blazers in my high school, and I generally just kept my blazer on most of the time. Unless it was really warm, I'd take it off. And it's school uniform, so there was no issue with that. Except this one moron, and he was a moron, it took exception to that fact. He's a guest in the school, he's not a regular teacher, but he decides that, no, I have to take my blazer off. So he's telling me to take it off. Other people, the students in the class, are telling me to keep it on. And I'm a little confused by that point, because, that kind of thing where you've got two people or multiple people in each ear telling you contradicting things. So that guy's a moron, and it's sad to say that was probably the most exciting thing that happened to him that day. And possibly that whole year. Ooh, kid with a blazer, tell him to take it off. Yeah, that's my jam. That's how I get my kicks. Anyway, look forward to reading some of yours in a comment below. You share your high school stories, your funny stories, not necessarily traumatic. I don't want you to relive bad events, but anything you're comfortable sharing, I look forward to reading in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.